Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Deep and Effective Big Book Study. It's your old pal, the recovered alcoholic here. So glad you could join us. Guys, this is going to be episode 23, which we're going to be going into step 9. And I got to tell you, I've been thinking and kind of contemplating, meditating a little bit on how I was going to do step 9. Was I going to break it up into two videos or just kind of shoot straight through? And this is what I've kind of decided on, is that I'm just going to start and see where we're at on time, and if it starts getting where I'm not going to finish within a good 30-35 minutes, because I like to keep these things short and simple, then we'll break it up into 2 parts. So don't really know how it's going to go. I'm going to let the Spirit guide me. So as always, guys, I'd like to drop in my email. It's recoveredalcoholic1939@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, concerns you might have, by all means, reach out to me. If you're looking for sponsorship, both men and women, do not hesitate. Guys, I can get you hooked up with a spiritual experience. Ladies, please don't be scared. Don't let anybody tell you that men can't help you in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, because we should be treating you as our sisters and nothing else, right? So of course men can help you, and of course I can get you directed to some other women that could help you along your program. So please don't hesitate to do that. As always, my friends, we always open this with a prayer, and we do the set-aside prayer. And if you care to join me in a moment of silence, I'll lead us. God, please help us set aside everything we think we know about ourselves, our disease, the 12 steps, and especially you, so we may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help us see the truth. All right, right on. Can't do anything unless we get God in the house. And this is the Deep and Effective Big Book Study, so let's go to page 25 and do a little verbatim reading, because this is what it's all about. So middle of 25. The great fact is just this and nothing less: that we've had deep and effective spiritual experiences, which have revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, our fellows, and toward God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us which we could never do by ourselves. God, I love that promise. That is just so awesome. Okay, guys, so this is going to be step 9, right? Which is the principle behind step 9 is justice. Justice with humility. So let's take a quick moment and recap where we just came from, because coming out of the step 8, right? And we established the simplicity of this list. We also established the principle of brotherly love and humility, because the step 8 is all about setting the stage for forgiveness, right? And you got to remember, this is a program of action, so I've got to take this and put it into and go make some moves with it, right? I got to do something with this list. It's because on its own, it's just a list, and it'll get me nowhere. I have to marry it with some action, and that's what step 9 is about. And real quick, guys, I talk about the 12 and 12, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's an absolutely great tool for spiritual growth, right? It's done countless wonderful things in my life. But we always have to remember, we got to know its place, and it always shadows the big book. And but it's a useful tool, right? The instructions to recover are not in the 12 and 12; they come from the big book. But I want to read the first sentence from step 9 in the 12 and 12, which is on page 83, because this is really sets the stage for how I need to understand the amends process and how it should go. So I'll read this real quick. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall find when we take step 9. Right? So all these things I just read, I don't really have those. I'm not known for good judgment and careful sense of timing and courage, right? That's not what I'm known for, before I come into Alcoholics Anonymous. I have now been able to receive some of these qualities, these assets, in very small doses. But when I'm first starting this process, I don't have any of that. So I can't talk about the value of sponsorship enough in regards to the amends process. Obviously, you need sponsorship through the entire process of the steps, but especially in the amends process, we need good direction from people who have experience with this, right? Because we can go out and make a mess. I've done it, right? Because the thing we want to do is when we've been sober for 5 minutes and, we want to go out and save the world and go tell everybody, oh, look at me, look how great I am now, look what I'm doing. And I'm guilty of that. And I've actually caused more harm by making these unplanned amends. So I just want to kind of say that before we get into it. Sponsorship in the amends process. Because I don't know how to make an amends. I know how to say I'm sorry, right? But I don't know how to change the behavior that prevents me from saying I'm sorry again. And that's what the amends process is about. It's going to show me how not only just to make things right and make something whole again, but it's also going to teach me how to not keep repeating these same behaviors. And that's what the whole thing is really about. It's about being better. So let's pick up on page 76. Remember, we just come off the 8-step. We have our 8-step prayer. Again, it's about willingness. And we're going to get right into step 9. Now, whatever happens in this episode, whether it becomes all 1 or 2, I want to make sure that we bring out the 4 9th-step prayers and talk about how they are designed for 4 very specific things, right? So if you're not familiar with the 4 9th-step prayers, well, today's the day, guys. We're going to talk about it. And I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to show you in the book, right? So I want to pick up on top of 77, right? And I'm just going to kind of let the Spirit guide me and read what I need to read and talk about it. So top of 77 tells us something really important, right? It says that at the moment we were trying to put our lives in order, right? It doesn't say anything about I'm trying to get sober, right? But this is not the end of it. This isn't highlighted in your book. It needs to be. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. Wow, that's huge, man. I just came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous because I thought I needed to quit drinking. Oh no, there's so much more going on than just not drinking, right? Maximum service. Wow. And that's what the steps teach me to do. And then it goes on in the next paragraph to talk about how I should be, how my demeanor should be when I'm approaching people, right? Because this is kind of born out of what Bill Wilson learned the hard way when he first started going out there and trying to carry the message, and he's dragging people out of the gutters and out of the bars. And basically what he was doing was trying to cram religion and spirituality down these guys' throats, and they weren't having it. And he would go back to Silkworth and tell him how unsuccessful he was being. And Silkworth said, hey man, why don't you just maybe ease up on the God, if you will, the religion, and share more of your experiences, right? Because that's what people are going to be attracted to. They're not going to be attracted to me screaming spirituality from the mountaintop. And this is what he's talking about, right? But then the next paragraph tells us about how we can be tactful, right? This is where this good judgment and sense of timing comes into. So listen, we don't use an excuse for shying away from the subject of God when it will serve any good purpose. We're willing to announce our convictions with tact and common sense. That's how I need to be approaching everything. Tact and common sense. It says the question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. So the answer's in the question. How do I approach these people? Through honesty, open mind, and willingness. That's how I approach. He has done us more harm than we've done him. And though we have acquired a better attitude, the attitude of forgiveness, remember that's what the principle of the 8th-step is, brotherly love. That's the attitude that I'm now adopting. Toward him, he's still not keen about admitting our faults. Nevertheless, with the person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. Right? So it says, nevertheless, it says tough shit. We don't care. Nevertheless, you're still going to do it. How free do you want to be? Right? This is that reminder. No one said this is going to be easy, but I promise you, this is where the growth comes from. There's no way. I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to recover if I'm unwilling to face the hard amends, right? And for me, I can tell you, the harder the amends, the greater the freedom, the greater reward it comes from, right? The ones I truly don't want to make, that's where I really become free. Remember the thing about willingness. I only need willingness for the things I don't want to do. Right? I don't pray for willingness for the things I want to do. I need willingness for the stuff I don't want to do. You with me? Listen to what it says though, right? It's harder to go to an enemy than to a friend, but we find it much more beneficial to us. And here's some good instructions. We go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit. Again, we see brotherly love right there, don't we? Confessing our former ill, feeling and expressing our regret. Here's some quick instructions I want to go over of how I need to be approached. Under no condition do we criticize such a person or argue. Simply, we tell them that we will never get over drinking until we have done our utmost to straighten out the past. That's what I need to be saying. That's what they're telling me. Hey, Mr. Amends person, I'm never going to get over drinking unless I truly come clean and make things right. We're there to sweep off our side of the street. Realize that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so. Listen to that. Nothing worthwhile will be accomplished if I'm unwilling to go out and make these amends. That is a promise. That goes back to that half measures avails me nothing. Can't stop now. And then it goes on to tell us that we're not there to point out their faults and do the blame game and because of you I did this and all that crap. No. Again, this is about me owning the entirety of everything. I'm gonna pick back up on 78 about most alcoholics owe money. This is a very important paragraph in my life, right? I've been a rich man, I've been a poor man, and I've been everything in between. And I'm here to tell you that my bank account didn't dictate my level of responsibility. Does that make sense? Because I can be completely irresponsible with all the money in the world, and I can be completely irresponsible with no money. And this is what this paragraph is teaching me. It's about being responsible with the money that I do have, right? And I have to go, and for me, I did owe a lot of money when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I was fortunate enough in a position to pay that back at a rapid rate. Thank you, God. But here's the thing, is that it tells me very clearly, if I'm unwilling to be financially responsible, I will drink again. And that promise is just as true as the ones we're going to read on 83 and 84 here in a minute. So sum that up about your finances. It's important that we face them. Now we're going to get into the first of the four 9-step prayers. And I'm going to read verbatim. Perhaps we've committed a criminal offense, which might land us in jail if we are known to the authorities. We may be short on our accounts and unable to make good. We've already admitted these things in confidence to another person, but we were sure we'd be in prison or lose our job if it were known. Maybe it's only a petty offense, such as padding an expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Maybe we're divorced and have remarried, but haven't kept up the alimony to number one. She is indigent about it and has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble too. Now we're going to get into the first prayer on the 9th step. Although these reparations take innumerable forms, there are some general principles which we find guiding. What are these general principles? Willingness, honesty, and open-mindedness. Those are the general principles because that's the answer to everything. Because when I'm practicing those 3 basic foundation principles, it's going to get me hooked up to God, and God's going to be the solution to all my problems. And here's another reminder. I love this. I said, let's not forget, boys and girls. Remind ourselves that we've decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience. Again, it didn't even say you go to any lengths to get sober, does it? No. It says I'm willing to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience because that's the essence of the program. And here's the first prayer. And this is the prayer of legality. So if you haven't had this in your book, then now's a good time to mark it. The prayer of legality. Here it is. We ask that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be. We may lose our position, reputation, or face jail, but we're willing. We have to be. We must not shrink at everything. Again, there's another one of those musts that aren't in the book. So what happens within these 4 9-step prayers that they give us, right? They give us a little story, a little example of how this prayer would apply into the individual's life, right? Because we're going to have the prayer of legality. We're going to have the prayer of others affected. We're going to have the prayer of infidelity, and we're going to have the prayer of family. And again, when you understand this and then you go back and read, you will see that they give us a perfect little example of what that situation might look like for you. So through that inventory process, and you've learned enough honesty and enough humility, and you discover, I've got some legal issues that are still unresolved. Well, I've got a prayer specifically designed for that. Go talk to God about it. What does God need you to do in regards to that, right? And sponsorship again. And then the next example, the next prayer that we're going to get into is the prayer of others affected. And because it starts off with this, listen, usually, however, other people are involved, right? So this is about prayers of others affected. And you go on and you read the rest of 79, and then the top of 80, they give us a great little example of what my amends process is going to look like. What if I go out and make specific amends? How is it going to affect other people, right? It's very important. Remember, good timing, sense of direction, prudence, all that stuff. This is important in making these amends. So go with me on the top of 80, guys, and I'm going to show you the prayers of other affected. It says, before taking drastic action, which might implicate other people, see, we secure their consent, we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, and here's the prayer, ask God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. So again, I have to really analyze the amends, how I'm going to go about it, and just how is it going to affect other people, right? And other people is not me. When it talks about in the 9th step, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when do so would injure them or others. See, I'm not the others, okay? I got to take myself out of that. I've heard that said many times in meetings, and that's just not true. And then they go into another story, right, after the prayer of others affected. Then they go into another story, another example. And again, these are great instructions as well that will lead us over to 82, where we get into the prayer of infidelity, right? Extramarital affairs, whatever you want to call them, my friends. So listen to this on 82. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both will decide the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. And here's the 9th step of the 9th step prayer. The 9th step prayer of infidelity right here, guys. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness and uppermost in mind, right? So this is about if I've got some stuff in my inventory that I need to look at with relationships. Again, they give us a story, an example, and they give us a prayer on how to go about doing all that. You with me? Cool. I'm going to read verbatim the rest of this because we've got time, and this is some good stuff right here, guys. I've been kind of just paraphrasing through the process so far, but remember, this is an instruction manual. I'm holding the book up right now. This is an instruction manual, right? So study the words. They tell us exactly what to do. Therefore, that eliminates everything I don't have to do or should do. So now listen to this. If we have no such complication, there's plenty you should do at home, right? Because now we're going to get into the prayer of family. Okay, so I just talked about at home. See how everything just lays out perfectly for us and when we learn how to study it? Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs is to keep sober. Well, that's BS, right? Remember, the solution to alcoholism is not sobriety. The solution to alcoholism is a spiritual experience. And believe me, I don't stop being what I'm about to read, right? We're about to read about the tornado roaring our way through people's lives. See, I don't stop doing that just because I'm not drinking, right? I can still be the tornado roaring my way through somebody's life, and I have years of sobriety. Okay? Let's make sure we understand this. I'll keep reading. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he's yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom he for years has so shockingly treated. Man, is that me. Passing all understanding is the patient mothers' wives have had with alcoholics. Had it not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. I got to tell you, that's my truth as well. And this is good. And now I love this part about the alcoholic, the tornado, right? Tell me if you can relate to this. And tell me this. Just because you quit drinking, did this go away? Not for me. Listen to this. The alcoholic is like a tornado, roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. Right? Didn't even say that my drinking habits is what kept the home in turmoil. Surely that's partly responsible for it. But what's really keeping it is my selfishness and my inconsiderate. Right? Remember top of page 62? Selfishness and self-centered. We think that is the root of our troubles. Right? I don't stop being selfish and inconsiderate and rude just because I'm not drinking. I have to have another option to change what I am. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous does. I keep reading. We feel a man is thinking when he says that sobriety is enough. God, this repeats it over and over and over in the book. How sobriety is not our solution. He's like the farmer who came up from the cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" God, I can relate to that. Listen to this. Yes, there's a long period of reconstruction ahead. Right? We're going to read about it in the 10th step that it says that this is a practice that should continue for a lifetime. We must take the lead. Half measures avail us nothing, my friends. Remember that. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. Yeah, everybody knows I'm sorry, man. Everybody. Now they want it. See, now I need to start learning how to change the behaviors and the attitudes and the motives that caused me to be that tornado roaring my way through your life. That's what the steps will do for me. Now we're about to get into the 4th 9-step prayer, the prayer of family. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it. Being careful not to criticize them, right? This is good instructions. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that their own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, and here's the prayer. Asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. And man, did you not just see all the principle of brotherly love right there in that prayer? Right? And it's about forgiveness. So there's your prayer for family. And here's another thing about the amends process. I'm not just going to show up, tell you what I need to tell you, peace out, and I'm gone. No. I have to be willing to sit down and give you an opportunity to tell me the truth about me. Right now, I'll give you an example. Right? Is I can go to somebody and I can remember some very specific harms that I've caused people. And I've shared them with them and I made my amends properly and I asked what I can do to make it right and so on and so on. And then I gave them an opportunity to tell me what they needed to tell me. And what they told me was this. Well, yeah, we really remember and appreciate you talking about the ways you remember harming. But let me tell you the one thing that you did that really harmed me. And this was something that I didn't even know I did, or I didn't remember, or had no recollection of, right? So this is what it's about. Because that's what giving them a voice will do. That's how we grow. Oh, wow, I didn't even know I did that. So if I don't even know I did that, how could I possibly change the behavior of that? And it's also about fairness, right? Give that person an opportunity to speak their mind. And it's been just a wonderful practice for me. We'll keep going. So we now have our 4 9-step prayers, guys. You know where they are? Use them. They're wonderful. We'll finish up the 9th step. The spiritual life is not a theory, right? This ain't no theory. This stuff is real, my friends. I promise you. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not try to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Listen to this. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. That's what the amends process teaches me. It's how to change my behavior. Right? See, I just wanted to tell everybody how wrong I was and expect for all that trust to just be rebuilt overnight. And it doesn't work that way. It takes time and it takes action and willingness on our part to change our behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Because if I keep making amends and if I keep doing the same behaviors and keep making amends for it, it carries no weight. There's no value. But if when I go and make something right and then I stop doing it, that's the growth. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. There may be some wrongs we never fully right. And you're right. I will never be able to consciously remember every human being I've ever harmed in my 51 years. It's just not going to happen. But listen to what they tell us. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would write them if we could. I've got a few people on my amends list that I have never been able to make a direct amends to. And it wasn't through lack of willingness, it wasn't the way it was meant to be. But I can assure you that if God was to ever drop them in front of me at Walmart one day or wherever, I'll know exactly what that's about. And that will be my opportunity to make that direct amends. So I put it all in God's hands. You with me? Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. Right? Doesn't say we just write the letter, does it? There's no humility in that. I got to tell you, I have experience with writing letters and sending them. That's where we grow. I've had people that refuse to see me. And it was suggested through good sponsorship, well, then send them a letter. And I have. So remember, it doesn't say just write, it says send. That's the action. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we do not delay if we can be avoided. Here's some more good advice. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. That's great advice. Now we're going to get into the 9th step promises, guys. And there's actually, I've heard it said, the promises, the 12 promises. No, these are the 9th step promises, and there's actually 14 of them if we wanted to count them. Although if they felt that they needed numbers in front of them, then that's what they would have done. So they are the 9th step promises and nothing else. And I'll read. If, right? It's going to start with the word if, and it's going to end with the word if. It's the most important word in these promises. Because if means that there has to be a requirement met to be successful. So if I have carefully followed these clear-cut directions all the way up to the bottom of page 83, this is what I get. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. Amazed before we're halfway through what? Halfway through the amends process. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Man, sign me up for that. That's all I've ever wanted was happiness and freedom. I don't know about you. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word of serenity, and we will know peace. God, I need that so bad. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, we'll see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And here it is, guys. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Anybody that tells you that we're not supposed to be talking about God in a meeting is so misinformed. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous is 100% unapologetic about God. Right? That's all we're ever supposed to be talking about because there ain't nothing else. And if you can just not drink and produce these 9 step promises into your life, then my hat's off to you. Congratulations. But you don't have alcoholism. Sobriety will never be able to produce these in my life, no matter how long I stay sober. Right? I have to live that spiritual life. And then it says this, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But here it is. They will always materialize if we work for them. Started with if, we ended with if. Everything in between is not a gift. This doesn't come. I had to do the work to get that. I have to continue to do the work to remain in this state. And I promise you, at any given moment when I get lazy, rest on my laurels, get complacent, these things will start dropping off one by one. So let's recap, guys. The principle behind the 9th step is justice. Justice with humility. right? Because this is where I go out and hold myself accountable. See, because I've spent my whole life pointing my finger at you and saying, well, you should get what you deserve for what you did to me and how you treated me and others. Well, we have to flip that around. And now I have to go out, and I don't want to say get what I deserve. That's just not a good way to say it. But I expected you to be accountable for your actions. Well, no. Now I have to be accountable to my actions. And justice, my friends, levels the playing field. Again, justice will give me one more chink in my ego blown up armor, right? That justice will knock me down another notch. This step will continue to knock me down to right size so I can become one with you and one with God. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, email me. Drop me a message, comment, recoveredalcoholic1939@gmail.com. Happy to help you with anything I can. And I guess we're going to go with one episode, our friends. So I went with it and let the Spirit guide me, and here we are. So we'll be picking right back up in step 10 here real soon. And so until next time, take care and much love.